You ever have those mornings where you walk into the shop and you can just feel the humidity in your joints? Like the air is a wet wool blanket trying to smother your projects?
I think regular people call that summer tiger, but I'm guessing you're talking about what that dampness does to your expensive plastic spool collection.
It's the silent killer. I once left a roll of nylon out over a rainy weekend in April. When I tried to print with it, it sounded like a tiny bowl of Rice Krispies. Snap, crackle, and pop. The finish looked like a piece of coral that had been through a car crash. It was the most expensive lesson in atmospheric science I've ever taken.
Well, Prusa is trying to save you from your own meteorology failures. They just dropped this USS dry box, 35 bucks. They're claiming museum-grade sealing. Does a plastic bin really need to be that fancy?
Listen, a bin is what you keep your old socks in. This thing has a custom silicone seal that probably has a tighter grip than my grandmother on her purse at a casino. If it keeps the moisture out of the PETG, it's worth twice the price. It's all about the physics of the boil. If there's water in the plastic, it turns to steam in the nozzle, and that's where your surface finish goes to die.
Fair enough. Although, speaking of open, Snapmaker finally stopped teasing and open-sourced the code for their U1 clipper machines. They actually hit the deadline. I was ready to call you and start a pool on when they'd miss it.
I would have lost that bet. But that's a win for the tinkerers. It's like a car company giving you the blueprints to the engine and saying, go ahead, tune it until it screams. It keeps these machines from becoming expensive boat anchors 5 years down the line because the community can just keep fixing the brains of the thing.
From high-tech brains to some serious old-school wisdom, there's a guy over on Electrician Talk who just hit the 50-year mark in the trade. Started in 1976. Tiger, that's half a century of not getting electrocuted.
That's a miracle of discipline right there. In 1976, I was probably trying to figure out how to stick a fork in an outlet, and this guy was already wiring up industrial plants. You talk to a guy like that, and he won't talk about the newest voltage meter first. He'll talk about working space and workmanship.
You mean making it look pretty?
It's more than pretty, Alex. It's your signature. A pro can walk up to a breaker box and tell in 3 seconds if the guy who wired it was a craftsman or just a guy looking for a paycheck. If your wires are a bird's nest, you're telling the world you don't care about the person who has to fix it 10 years from now. It's about respect for the next guy.
Is that why you spend 40 minutes organizing your screwdriver drawer for the next guy?
That's mostly for my own sanity, so I don't throw a hammer through the window when I can't find a Phillips number 2. But look at what's happening now. Even the old school trades are colliding with the tech. 3D printing is officially hitting the electrical contractor profile for 2026. Custom brackets, specialized enclosures, the Sparkies are becoming makers.
It's all merging, but let's talk about the part that isn't a hobby, the money. Our Maker Mogul segment today is a bit of a reality check. We're talking about pricing for profit. I see this all the time on Etsy. People selling these gorgeous hand-turned bowls for like $40. They're basically paying the customer to take it, aren't they?
It breaks my heart. They're buying themselves a job that pays $3 an hour. People forget that business profit and labor wage are two different animals. If you spend 5 hours sanding a slab of walnut and you only charge for the wood and a little extra, you aren't a business owner. You're a philanthropist with a dusty garage.
So how do you break that habit? Because it feels mean to charge what it's actually worth sometimes.
You have to be cold-blooded with a stopwatch. I used to think I could knock out a batch of picture frames in an afternoon. Then I actually timed it. Between the glue up, the miter tweaking, the 4 stages of sanding, and the finish, I was losing money on every frame. You have to track your batch versus unit labor. If it takes you 2 hours of sanding to make a $30 vase, you're better off working at a fast food joint. At least there, you get a free soda, and you don't have sawdust in your lungs.
A philanthropist with a dusty garage. I'm putting that on a t-shirt. But seriously, the Maker Profit formula is something people need to tattoo on their forearms. Materials plus labor plus overhead plus profit. Skipping one of those is how shops go dark.
Speaking of shops going dark, let's talk about the light at the end of the renovation tunnel. I was looking at some footage from Carlos at Elemento Drywall. The man is a magician with a mud knife.
Drywall is the one thing that makes me want to move out of my house rather than fix it. It's messy, it's frustrating, and it never looks flat when I do it.
That's because most people try to fix a bad hang with more mud. Carlos shows that the secret is the Monador technique, the installation. If you get those joints tight and the boards perfectly flush before you even open the bucket of compound, the finishing is a breeze. It's like woodworking. If your joinery is gaps and prayers, no amount of wood filler is going to save your soul.
And what about the arrow brush? You were raving about this in the notes.
Oh, it's a game changer. For trim work, you don't want those cheap, flat cut brushes that hold paint like a wet sponge. You want a tapered, arrow-worthy tip. It lets you cut in a line so sharp you could shave with it. It saves you 3 hours of peeling masking tape and bleeding edges. It's the difference between a DIY job and a professional finish.
All right, we've covered a lot, from museum-grade plastic bins to the tragedy of the underpriced walnut bowl. What's the one thing you want people to take into the shop this week?
I think it's about realizing that every minute you spend in the shop is an investment. Whether you're learning to seal your filament or learning to price your work, you're building a life where you actually own your skills. Don't be afraid to charge what you're worth, and don't be afraid to spend the extra 10 minutes making the inside of the project look as good as the outside.
Even if no one ever sees it?
Especially if no one ever sees it, you'll know. And that's the guy you really have to answer to at the end of the day.
Well said, Tiger. Now go organize your screwdrivers. I think I moved the number 3 just to mess with you.
I knew it. Get out of here.